What's going on, YouTube? It's Jeff Tuffner here on the Glorious Podcast with my Week 6 NFL predictions. Now, you may be viewing this video Friday, Saturday, Sunday before the games, but as of the recording of this video, the Thursday Night Football game has not started yet. It's actually about to start in like an hour between the Eagles and the Panthers, which is actually a rare good matchup on Thursday Night Football. Usually the Thursday Night Football matchups just suck. We had that really good one a few weeks ago with the 49ers and the Rams, which was expected to be maybe the worst one of the year. But, hey, you put two bad teams against each other. The Rams actually aren't that bad of a team this year, but, two teams not the best of teams together. You get a good game. You get a good offensive, fun, back-and-forth game. So, tonight we get two of the teams that are actually the top teams in the NFC right now, the Eagles and the Panthers. It's in Carolina. So, there should be a good one between the Eagles and the Panthers. I really got to go with the Eagles. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of the Eagles this year. I really am. I think Carson Wentz, he's looking really good this year for the Eagles. The Eagles defense worries me. I was looking at their schedule the other day. They actually have a pretty easy schedule based on how they've been playing this far into the season. Tonight's definitely going to be a tough challenge on the road against Cam Newton in Carolina. As for Carolina, they've been kind of an interesting team this year. They haven't looked great, but the record makes them, I think, look better than they actually are. They had a huge game against the Patriots. What was that, last week or 2 weeks ago, where they went up to New England, beat the Patriots. Patriots haven't looked themselves either this year. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But Carolina, I feel like the record doesn't show exactly how, the current state of their team. I feel like they are kind of not that good of a team, if that's how you want to put it. They definitely have talented players. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like I really have to go with the Eagles. I honestly think the Eagles have a chance at the Super Bowl this year. There's not a lot. This is one of those years in the NFL where there's going to be like 8-8 teams making the playoffs in the wild card. You know what I mean? There's other years where you have to win like 10 games to just make the playoffs. This is going to be one of those years where there's going to be like 8-8 teams that really don't even really belong in the playoffs that are going to end up making the playoffs. It's crazy the amount of teams this year that have kind of been like, you're seeing upsets. Like, it's been a crazy year so far in the NFL with the amount of upsets and just surprising teams that aren't doing good. I wouldn't say the Eagles. I didn't expect the Eagles maybe to be as good as they've looked so far, but they are looking really good, and I think they're the best team in the NFC right now. I think they're the second best team in the NFL, right behind the Chiefs as a whole right now. So, I'm going with the Eagles tonight over the Panthers. I think it will be definitely a shootout, an offensive shootout between I think Carson Wentz, Cam Newton are going to be playing great in this one. I think the Eagles, though, at the end of the day, are going to come down, score maybe like 30 points. Panthers are going to put up like 20-something, something like that. That's what I'm looking at, a high-scoring affair tonight. Like I said, the only thing that concerns me with the Eagles in the long run is their defense. If they could tighten up a little bit maybe on defense, I think they could be a real force to be reckoned with in the NFC. So that was the game tonight. Let's move on to the Sunday games. We got the Bears and the Ravens. So the Bears, I told you that I said it a few weeks back. It was just they started Matt McGowan, but it was only a matter of time before we saw Trubinsky come in, and we saw it last week on Monday Night Football against the Vikings. Now the Bears lost that game, but a lot of people were really shitting on Trubinsky in that game. I thought he played a little decent. I was watching a little of the highlights and stuff. I thought he played decent. I don't think he was that bad. Especially for being his first game in the NFL, it wasn't that bad. The Bears have been an interesting team this year. I feel like they're like a piece or two away. I honestly think the Bears, in like within 2 years, maybe a few more draft picks, maybe a few players in free agency, can honestly be once again be a force in the NFC and the NFL as a whole. I really feel like the pieces are really starting to come together, and it was a kind of almost a quick rebuild for the Bears, in my opinion. Some might not agree, but I don't know. I feel like the Bears are close to being like a threat again in the NFL, but they're playing the Ravens, who have been one of those interesting teams this year, the Ravens. They really started good. Their defense was like top-notch defense in the NFL. It was amazing. And then they went over to London and got destroyed by the Jaguars. Now, the Jaguars have been very surprising this year. I think arguably the Jaguars might have the best defense in the NFL. One of the best defenses we've seen all the time. There's good defenses, but I feel like their defense is on another level of good right now. The amount of talent they have on that team. I feel like it's been the story that every year with the Jaguars, where it's just like you look on them on paper and they're a really good team, but then they just can't put it together on the field. But I think this might finally be the year they could actually put it together, maybe make a run for the playoffs. But as for the Ravens, that game was very surprising because it's like the Jaguars' offense. That's the thing that you don't expect to see good. Put up like 44 points on the really good Ravens defense. So it was just kind of a head scratcher there when when I saw the score for that. I was just like, wait, shouldn't it be like the other way around? But I mean, this game is in Baltimore. I'm gonna go with the Ravens in this one. Once again, I think it'll be kind of a down to the wire game. Bears will somewhat once again put up another fight. I feel like that's gonna be the case. It's been the case almost with every Bears game this year. They put up somewhat of a fight, but they just can't seem to like put it together at the end. That's why I feel like they're a few pieces away from being like a threat again. Well, one team that's far from being a threat in the NFL as a whole, and haven't been there really in forever, or in a long time at least, that's the Cleveland Browns. Now, I had hope with the Cleveland Browns. I thought they played good week one. I know I'm going way back here all the way to week one, but things have been a mess. They're changing quarterbacks. It's just been a whole mess for the Cleveland Browns. I feel like they're once again. That's just it's unfortunate for them that they just can't seem to put it together. But I feel like they're farther away from being a top team in the NFL than the Bears are. I mean, and then they're playing the Texans. I mean, man, the Texans lost J.J. Watt and Whitney Merciless on the Sunday night game against the Chiefs. Two huge losses. I mean, they really count on that defense down there. You know what I mean? Those are two key guys who, top, maybe the two best players on their defense, arguably. They lost them both out for the season, and now all of a sudden they're going to have to count on their offense. Usually in past years it's been like they win their games via defense, the Texans, but then they discovered Deshaun Watson in the draft, and he is a beast. He might be able to carry this team to the playoffs. He has just been amazing for them. They lost that game on Sunday night, but he threw, I think, for 5 touchdowns. So their offense is now all of a sudden the thing that they're going to have to win games on. And they're going to have to count on the offense to put up the points because, I mean, not that the defense isn't still going to produce points. They still got a couple key guys on the defense despite losing Watt and Merciless for the season. So, I don't know. They're going to win this game against the Browns. This is in Houston, so they should win this game against the Browns. Now we go with an NFC North battle here. Packers, Vikings. The Vikings, I don't know what's going on with the Vikings at quarterback. The Case Keenum started on Monday. Sam Bradford, it doesn't appear he's going to be playing again this week. And the Packers, what would they be? The Cowboys, I think it was, past Sunday. Aaron Rodgers is good. The Packers, I'm going to compare the Packers to the Panthers here. I feel like the Packers, once again, just like the Panthers, their record doesn't show what they really are. I feel like the Packers aren't the best of teams, but the record's making them look much better than they actually are. I think they're definitely a decent team. They'll probably end up making the playoffs, but I don't feel like their record, I think, what are they, 3-1? They don't look like a 3-1 team based on what I've seen. They don't. They're going to win this game too. They're going to probably go to 4-1. They shouldn't have much of a problem with the Vikings. It's in Minnesota, but I mean, the Vikings starting the backup quarterback. Vikings they already lost Dalvin Cook, unfortunately, for the season. I mean, he was really looking good too in the beginning there, so that's unfortunate for them. Lots of injuries too this year to start. Lots of key guys on key guys that were big pieces for each team. It got off to good starts this season. Just unfortunately got injured, and it just sucks. There's one team specifically, the Giants. We'll get into them a little bit later here, but move on to the Lions at the Saints. The Saints, I don't even know what to think of the Saints. Drew Brees is doing what Drew Brees does, and that's putting up points. Throwing touchdowns and all that good stuff. The Saints defense, it's not that good. The Lions, on the other hand, they're an interesting team too. They're kind of like the Ravens, I think, to compare them to someone else. They've kind of had, they've had the bright, their high times, and they've also had the low of lows so far this year. So it's been an interesting year for them. I think the Lions should win this game. They shouldn't have much of a problem with the Saints. I think it could be a close game. Never know, actually. Never mind. It should actually be a close game. Maybe the Saints will win, but I'm going to go with the Lions on this one. Now we move on to my Dolphins taking on the Falcons. And the Dolphins won this last week. If you guys watched my Dolphins Titans review, I was granted. I'm happy the Dolphins won that game, but they played like shit in this game. Once again, the Jay Cutler, he just can't do it. The offense is so dead, it's unbelievable. Their defense showed up big time in that game. I like what I'm seeing out of the defense. That gives me a little bit of hope that maybe they can do it. It's amazing though. This team is 2-2 going into week 6 and not even one game. I think they're a half game out of first place. A half game out of first place. So they still have time to turn it around. A win over the Falcons, the defending NFC champion Atlanta Falcons, on the road will be huge for the Dolphins. Maybe it's up to the Falcons to wake up that Dolphins offense, to get them going, because, I just don't know what to think anymore. The fans are fed up with what Jay Cutler is doing on the field, and the entire offense as a whole. It's just a whole mess. I don't even know what to think about it. The Dolphins, it's been a really weird year for the Dolphins. I'm not gonna get into it all right now. It has just been really weird. Every week, it's just something else. It's like, what is going on with this team? I mean, the amount of things that this team's gone through over the last like 2.5 months is incredible. But they're 2-2. They're going up against the Falcons now. I don't want to be biased. I want to pick the Dolphins really bad here, but man, I'm just gonna go with the Falcons. I mean, every week I want to pick the Dolphins just because I'm a fan of them. But I'm gonna go with the Falcons. It's a safe bet here. But I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed. The Dolphins can maybe pull up the upset and win over the Falcons. That would be huge. That would change the entire season if they can go out there, maybe get the actually get the offense going. But I'm really scared though because the Falcons got off to a little bit of a slow start. They're coming off the bye, which means and they're getting guys back, that key guys that were injured like Julio Jones, and they could, and it's at home too. So I mean, I don't know. I'm really worried going into this one. We got the Patriots and the Jets. Talk about surprising teams. How about the Jets? What are they up at 3-2 now? 3-2. Both. This is actually for the division somewhat. I mean, you got the Bills who are also 3-2, but the Patriots are 3-2, which is a surprise to many. Many people actually had them going undefeated this year, but they're at 3-2. Tom Brady's actually has somewhat of an injury. I think it's like a shoulder injury. He's going to play, I'm pretty sure, but he's been, the Patriots just haven't been the Patriots this year. They haven't had a really good defense. Their offense has been doing the usual stuff, but their defense has been kind of questionable. The Jets, on the other hand, have been very surprising. They won over the Dolphins. Now, they haven't been beating the best of teams. They went in that overtime game against the, the Jaguars. And then they won last week against the Browns. So, I mean, the teams they've been beaten up on haven't been the best of teams. But, I mean, to be honest with you, in the beginning of the year, I had the Jets going 0-16. For them to be at 3-2 right now, heading into Week 6, is honestly incredible. For this game, though, I think the Patriots will get the win. There is a chance, though, this could be the upset of the week right here. I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. The way the Patriots have been playing this year, the Jets got it at home, too. So, this could be the upset of the week here. The Jets may be knocking off the Patriots, but I'm going to go with the safe pick and take the Patriots over the Jets. We got the 49ers at the Redskins. Not much to talk about here. 49ers, the 49ers even have a win yet. And the Redskins have been okay. They haven't been that good. They can make a case for a wild card spot in the NFC this year. I don't think they really have a shot with the Eagles. I think the Eagles are really going to run away with it. I would say the Cowboys would have had a chance, but then after today, with Zeke getting suspended again, and that's a whole crazy story. I really feel like that really hurts the Cowboys' chances of making it run with it against the Eagles. So, I mean, the Cowboys might have a shot at the wild card, but I'm going to go with if I had to predict who would get that, maybe a wild card in the NFC, I'd probably go with the Redskins. They should win this game over the 49ers at home, so nothing really much to talk about in that game. Moving on to the Buccaneers at the Cardinals. The Cardinals just acquired Adrian Peterson from the Saints, which the Saints signing him was just an awful decision in the first place. I don't know why they even did it. But now the Cardinals have him. The Cardinals lost David Johnson earlier in the year. He's supposed to be coming back now. So what are they going to do then when they have David Johnson back? Are they going to trade Peterson too now? I mean, is that what's going to be this year? But the Buccaneers, I liked what I've seen out of the Buccaneers this year. They should have won that game against the Patriots. The Patriots should be 2-3 right now, guys. Last Thursday night, that was a crazy game. 3 missed field goals for the Buccaneers. 3 missed field goals. They should have won. They had them. There were so many opportunities I was watching. It's just like, man, dude. The Patriots were practically giving them this game, and they just couldn't capitalize on anything. So they really should have knocked off the Patriots last week. Couldn't do it. They shouldn't have much of a problem with the Cardinals this week. I don't know if Adrian Peterson's going to play, but I really don't think the Cardinals. The Cardinals, like I said, their better years are behind them at this point. I mean, they're really going to have to rebuild. I mean, Carson Palmer is like 38 or something. Larry Fitzgerald's probably going to retire soon. You got Adrian Peterson as the running back. I mean, David Johnson's probably the really only guy, that's could be kept around for the future. And you'll probably end up moving him because you don't want to be there for all those losing years that they're probably going to have to deal with, unfortunately for them, in the coming years as they sort of start to rebuild, I assume, after this season. But Buccaneers in this one. This is probably the most intriguing game, believe it or not, of the week, for me at least. The Rams at the Jaguars. These two teams have been surprisingly good this year, and I mean, it's going to be a battle of two very good running backs, two of the top guys in the league this year, between Todd Gurley and Leonard Fournette. Both guys have been incredible this year. Two of the top guys, like I said, in the league. And these two teams have been very interesting. Both of them have very talented defenses. I like what I think I like when it comes to offense. I like what I see out of the Rams offense more than I see what out of the Jaguars. This is a very intriguing game. This is like a game that most people probably won't even talk about, but this might be one of the best games of the week right here. Because it's the Rams. People don't think about the Rams much or the Jaguars, but I mean, if you've been watching a lot of football this year, you would know that the Rams and the Jaguars is probably a very interesting game to watch. So it's going to be the toughest game for me to pick on the entire slate of games this week here because it's just so hard to pick here. But I think I'm going to go with Jaguars at home. I think I'll take the Jaguars. I think their defense will be able to stand up tall, and their offense will be able to put up at least enough amount of points for them to get the win here. But I think the Rams will definitely keep it close because they've been playing good this year. So, I mean, I'll take the Jaguars in that one. But definitely, like I said, at least in my opinion, the most intriguing game on the entire slate of games for Week 6. We got the Steelers and the Chiefs. Steelers have been, I think like I said, the Steelers on the other hand, just kind of not as bad as the Cardinals, but it's time for them to move on from Brendan Roethlisberger. He had like 5 interceptions or something last week. The Jaguars just handed it to them. So, Steelers and then undefeated Chiefs, like I said, the best team in the league in my opinion right now. I mean, if I had to predict the Super Bowl today, I'd probably go the Chiefs and the Eagles right now. That's just based on the two best teams, I guess. But they're the two teams that have been the greatest so far, in my opinion. I mean, like I said, it's Week 6. Let's see where we are, I don't know, 6 weeks from now, Week 12. Things will probably be completely different. I mean, it's still early in the season. So, I'll take the Chiefs. And this is in Kansas City, too. So, I think Pittsburgh. The AFC North is just a really bad division this year. I mean, the Bengals. Remember when the Bengals started like 0-3 and it looked like it was all done for them? All of a sudden they've won. They racked up a few wins and now they have a shot at the division. I think at the end of the day the Ravens will probably end up winning the division. I don't know if the Steelers will turn it around, but I don't know. I don't care for the Steelers much. So I don't know. But Chiefs in this one, no question about it. Chargers, Raiders. Derek Carr I think is playing this week. If he's not, that I don't know. I mean, I think he's playing this week. The Raiders have been kind of a disappointment this year, even with Derek Carr when he was playing there. They haven't been like the Raiders that I expected to be like one of the top teams in the AFC. They've been kind of surprisingly not as good as I expected though. The Chargers on the other hand, the Chargers just every year I feel like they hype up. Everybody hypes up the Chargers to be like a half decent team, maybe a wild card team, and then they're once again like just lose. And you could look at all their games. Look how close the scores are in every one of their games. They finally won last week against the Giants. But, that was the Giants who don't have a win yet either. But, they're playing the Raiders on the road. I'll say the Raiders are able to get this one here. I think it actually will end up being a close game. I don't know if Derek Carr is playing. I remember reading that he is, but I'm not 100% sure on it. But if Derek Carr is playing, then definitely the Raiders. I still think I'll take the Raiders even if he's not playing based on how the Chargers have been this year. But Raiders in that one. We now move to the Sunday night game. I mean, who's going to want to watch this game? I feel bad for like the people who put this one on. The Giants and the Broncos. The Giants, who have not won a game yet this year, are taking on the Denver Broncos. If anybody is picking the Giants to win this game, you're out of your mind. There's no way the Giants will win. And it's in Denver, too, just to add to that. Denver's defense, it's unfortunate for the Giants. They lost Odell. They lost Brandon Marshall. Sterling Shepard, I don't think he's playing. Dwayne Harris. They've lost like their top 4 wide receivers. I don't think any of them are playing this week, if I'm correct. I don't even know who's playing. Eli Manning is playing like shit. I could tell you that for sure. They don't really have a running back. Their offensive line is just awful. And then and you got guys walking out. Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie just like walked out. There were multiple other Janoris Jenkins, I think it was. I was reading the other day. They walked like they didn't even want to play. They got replaced in the second half of that game against the Chargers this past week. So it is all going, just to shit for the Giants, unfortunately for them. And it's crazy because I would have had it the other way around with the New York teams. I would have had the Jets 0-5 right now, and the Giants maybe 3-2 or 4-1, something like that. But, man, I honestly think there is a legitimate chance, guys, based on all the injuries that just happened. I thought there was a chance the Giants could turn it around, at least maybe make a run for the wild card. But, man, with all the injuries they just took this past week, I don't even think they have a shot at the wild card. I think they have a shot at maybe going 0-16, maybe in that first overall pick. And if they do get that first overall pick, they better take a quarterback because Eli Manning, his better days are behind him. He doesn't even look like he really wants to play as much anymore, so definitely taking the Broncos in this game. This is probably the most, clear-cut winner game of the week, to be honest. I mean, looking at all the games, I mean, this is like, and it's a Sunday night game, too. I mean, a few weeks ago, we had the Colts and Seahawks. That was an awful Sunday night game. And now the Giants and the Broncos, and I don't think they could flex the games yet. I don't think it's till, like, after a certain week 12 or something, where they could start flexing Sunday night games. But, man, they put themselves into a bad hole with these games, because this game's not going to get good viewership at all. And then the Monday night game, Colts, Titans. I think Marcus Mariota's playing. He didn't play last week, but the Colts still without Andrew Luck. Go with the Titans here, I guess. Even if Mariota's not playing, I think I might take the Titans. I don't know. The Titans are kind of a disappointment this year, but I don't know. I mean, maybe they'd be different with Mariota if he played last week. They probably would have blew out the Dolphins. But I'll take them here at home on Monday night. Not the most exciting Monday night game either, too. So that's that. There's some teams on the bye this week. I think the Cowboys. Yeah, I didn't see the Cowboys on here. They're on the bye. A few other teams, I assume. But that's it for this week's predictions, Week 6. Hopefully it's a good week. Like I said, it's been a real entertaining season so far. Lots of like crazy upsets and just surprising games this year so far. And teams doing bad that we thought would do good, and teams doing good that we thought would do bad. It's been a fun season so far. So hopefully it continues that way. And hopefully this week's games, hopefully the game tonight's good, because it might be one of the better games this week between the Eagles and the Panthers. So that's it, though. Let me know what you guys think of my predictions down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you sometime soon here on the Glorious Podcast.